we're going to go buy a property. How did you go about it?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't a straightforward process for us. A lot of people get stuck after one property. If we can get the capital growth now, puts us in a good position for future properties. We engaged a buyer's agent. I look back now, I can laugh, but at the time it was, there weren't too many red flags. Yeah, pretty much got told to run at that point.
Okay, we need to move on and find someone else.
It didn't deter us. We sort of was, yeah, we're still set on getting a property.
You bought the house.
The roots and everything had caused havoc with the pipes. It can take months for trades to come out.
Do you remember what you're expecting to get on capital growth and rent?
And sort of exceeding what we had first anticipated.
Hello, property navigators. Meet Logan and Jess, both just 23, who recently bought their first property, all with money they saved themselves. No inheritance. In just 6 months, their investment saw such rapid capital growth that they're already gearing up to buy their second. Now, this isn't your typical YouTube video sharing 5 tips here or best locations there. This is a genuine dive into what it's actually like to buy your first property. This came about because our YouTube producer, who's also looking to buy his first property, heard us talking about Logan and Jess's journey. He was so intrigued by what he heard, he practically begged us to set up an interview.
Hey Luke, that story you sent me is awesome. Give me a call, let's make it happen.
What our producer found wasn't just impressive results, it was the story of how Logan and Jess tackled the overwhelming world of property investment as first-time buyers in a competitive seller's market and won. They had to overcome dodgy or incompetent professionals wasting their money, the stress and confusion of being first-time buyers, and the immense pressure of knowing their first investment would set the trajectory for their entire future. This isn't a video where we're instilling false hope of achieved financial freedom with property investing. This is a video about reality, what Logan and Jess had to do to not only achieve, but absolutely smash their goals. Now, before we get into how Logan and Jess pulled this off, you need to understand who these two Aussies are.
So were you deciding to get into property investing when you were with Jess?
No, it was probably before Jess, so probably 16, I'd say. I'd started listening to a few podcasts. It was my afternoon walks. It wasn't more the action stage at that point, but it was just sort of developing the knowledge and skill set that I could sort of make informed decisions. And from that point, I guess sort of from 18 was starting to invest in shares and the like, and then met Jess. Don't ask me when, I'll be in trouble. And then I guess we sort of had that vision together.
Was there a reason why? Can you remember?
Comes back to parents, their circumstances. They'd both probably been through or had been through some tough times themselves, both when they were younger and then sort of having their own business and that. And knowing that the drive that they had, I've got a father that he sleeps minimal hours and it's just to support our family. So I'm very grateful for that and know that nothing comes easy in life. So I think that sort of gave me the drive to start with, and knowing that if I can do this now, I can support both my current family and then sort of the future family going forward as well.
Yeah, we've talked about the long-term gains of why you want to get into property investing. Was there any personal reasons as well?
Yeah, no, I think you want to set yourself up, but I think life's more than just yourself. Jess has always wanted a nice outdoor area. I've always wanted a spa and a bar fridge, but I guess in these living times it's not something you can achieve straight away, especially in the location that you want. And I guess that was for us is, hey, let's look at property and have that vision that, hey, it is achievable to be in that position. It's just going to take time and obviously work at the same time.
What stands out most about Logan? It's his humility, kindness, and unwavering drive to make a better future for himself and Jess. He's proof that staying grounded, putting in the work, and being open to learning can set you apart in property investing. Now, not everyone is as kind-spirited as Logan and Jess, and these two were about to learn the hard way what can go wrong when you trust the wrong people in property investing.
Now, before we get into all these wins and stuff as well, I think it's important people understand everything.
Yeah.
So you made that decision. Yes, we're going to go buy a property. What were your first steps then? How did you go about it?
Yeah.
What did you run into?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't a straightforward process for us. Knowing that, and sort of based on the knowledge skills that I had, that I knew that the first one was a very important purchase for us. Then Jess and I sort of came to the decision that, hey, we need to probably look at a buyer's agent to help facilitate this. Based on their knowledge on the ground and sort of overall statistics and numbers. Obviously spoken to numerous ones, done the research. We engaged a buyer's agent that we We went forward with actually, I look back now, I can laugh, but at the time it was, there weren't too many red flags. I think probably the biggest red flag was the person that we were dealing with was not quite experienced. There just was no real sort of specific goal or plan, despite us saying what we were looking for, and we're looking for that expertise.
So with that like first time trying to buy the property and all that, do you remember like how long it took and what that process was like?
Didn't take long to get a property. Within a couple of days, we'd sat down and had our, I wouldn't call it a strategy meeting, but the likes of it. And then probably the week after we put an offer in, but it was sort of outpriced based on our borrowing capacity at the time. And then it probably was 2 weeks after that this next one popped up. We'd put an offer in, I think probably on the Wednesday, and on the Friday we'd found out that it had been approved. And then I guess we got the building and pest. Building and pest came back, and it was pretty much got told to run at that point. And I think that was sort of a blessing in disguise, that moment, because I think Jess and I both said, this just doesn't feel right. They had many great reviews, many great experiences, but it just wasn't ticking the boxes that we were looking for, from genuinely wanting to care about sort of our goals and aspirations at the same time. People being on the ground, they would get the real estate agents to do it, which you look back and you think, well, that's ridiculous, because what are they trying to do is they're trying to sell the property. So of course they're going to sell it like it's, they're going
to miss a burst pipe or something. They're going to like video, whoops.
And that's their job, to get rid of it at the highest price. So yeah, I think we were very grateful to get out of that market. And obviously another aspect of them was they did put us in touch with a mortgage broker that we look back now was quite clueless. We end up, obviously, with the purchase of this property, we were looking at a borrowing capacity half what we had with this house, which is frustrating because you only know what you know, and you engage a mortgage broker to be able to action that for you. The first time people do it, it's a scary experience. I remember all the paperwork getting from conveyance. I was just like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? And just that first time, it was definitely an overwhelming experience, and having concerns in the back of your mind as well about who you'd engage was definitely not helpful in that circumstance.
Stories like this are unfortunately all too common. Whether it's trusting the wrong professionals or making an offer on a property that doesn't stack up, there are so many ways a crucial first investment can fall short. But Jess and Logan did one thing that truly saved them. By resisting the pressure of a seller's market and ensuring they had options and clauses to walk away if needed, they gave themselves a second chance to keep navigating the property market. Many investors reach a point where they feel disheartened, wondering if they're on the right path. But with just one person to guide you in the right directions, things can really turn around, just as they did for Logan and Jess.
Can you describe, like, do you remember what that day was when like you and Jess were like, okay, we need to move on and find someone else?
I don't know if it was a big decision. It was more a bit of frustration that we had wanted to get it done. It didn't deter us. We sort of was, we're still set on getting a property. I'd spoken to Boyd previously, and I sort of called him up. It must have been like a Friday night. I was just frustrated. I said, oh, this is it. And I gave him a call and I said, hey mate, we're still around. Can you help us? Frustration sort of disappeared quite quickly once we had that strategy meeting with Boyd, and we were back on track and knew exactly what we had to execute and go from there.
All right. So maybe I just want to also dive a little deeper into that call with Boyd when you're doing that flip.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember what you're talking about and what you were discussing?
I had earlier conversations about our situation, circumstances, everything like that. So the phone call that we had pretty much was straight into a strategy meeting. We made the decision, Jess and I, that let's do it. Let's engage property navigation for our property purchase. And then we actioned that and had our strategy meeting very quickly. We'd narrowed down suburbs, locations, updated borrowing capacity. So we just knew. And I remember Jess hopping off the phone being like, these are the people that are going to help us get that property, which is great. The whole journey, we were very impressed with him. It's the feeling he leaves. I think everyone could probably say the same. He does it to help people, and I guess you could say every salesperson does that. But no, I think there's a real genuine care and need from him, and he's got all the time in the world for you, which we were very grateful for. And probably the biggest aspect that we knew that they were the right people to engage is because they had every minute spare. You could give them a call. They'd be a wealth of knowledge in all elements that we needed. And that was, pretty much our biggest factor with them is the time that they gave us.
It didn't take long for Logan and Jess to realise they were back on track. Once they decided to take the plunge again, they focused on the most important step, coming up with a solid plan.
So yeah, from the moment where you decided, yep, we're going with Boyd to like that plan, we knew what we're going to do.
Yeah. So we obviously wanted something with capital growth, knowing that we were going to come in to a house we had a bit of time, well, let's say time, look back, probably not too much, but we had the time and resources to be able to sort of implement some sort of minor house renovations. So we knew from a property perspective that if we can get the capital growth now, it sort of puts us in a good position to take a bit of equity out going forward for future properties. Now, there's always a level of risk. You don't know exactly where the property market's going to be 6, 12, 18 months down the track when you're ready to go again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's probably why I really like this story so much, is it's not just who cares what the property investment is, like how you guys handled this and took advantage of your strengths, like being young, sort of pulling that all up. That's very impressive, man.
And I guess probably there are many strategies that we could have implemented. We could have gone straight to investor. We decided to go down to the first home buyers pathway at a 5%. That gave us a little bit more of a buffer with cash. We were pretty even from going straight down to investor versus first home buyer. It just gave us sort of that 6-month period coming out even, that we had that 6 months to sort of work on the property and do some renovations to it.
And when you were feeling about this first property, right, like how much pressure did you feel to get it right? Like what was that feeling like, knowing like this was the first step in the big trajectory?
Yeah, a lot of pressure, I think, because you just know a lot of people get stuck after one property. I can't spitball the stats. I'm sure Boyd and Luke can, but in terms of investors, there's not too many that sort of go on beyond that sort of one property purchase. So it's very important. And that's why we engaged people, because I didn't want to make the decision, and I knew that there was people in a better place to be able to inform that decision and put us in the right track going forward. Yeah,
dude, that totally makes sense.
As property investors, it's easy to feel like you have to take advantage of every government scheme or grant that comes your way. While these programs might save you $5,000 here or $10,000 on stamp duty there, the bigger cost is often overlooked, missing out on hundreds of thousands in potential growth. This can have a huge ripple effect, like delaying the purchase of your second investment property and beyond. Logan and Jess understood this well. They stuck to their solid plan and strategy, never letting schemes steer them off course. Instead, they chose the programs that fit their goals rather than adjusting their goals to fit the programs. With renewed confidence in their new plan, Logan and Jess were ready to move forward. But as Mike Tyson famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Next, you'll see how they went from finding the right property to finally getting it rented out. The highs, the lows, and how they kept themselves on track.
We want to come to that moment when you're looking at the properties. Can you describe what your experience was like when Boyd was showing you open home videos and stuff like that?
Yeah, so it was obviously just the videos that we'd get sent through Boyd, and I guess that was probably a big part of what they do, is they actually go and see the property. Even the video here, we'd just been spitballing sort of ideas and suggestions that we could implement at the property.
And again, looking for that potential down the line. If you were to granny flat this property, you'd throw up a front fence here to give them more yard space.
I think it was very helpful and to develop that vision for us that, hey, there's actually work that we can do here, and there's a goal that we can set if we were to pursue the property. So I guess we went through probably a couple, and then, this one was presented, I think, on the Thursday, and then, sort of Boyd used probably a couple of his strategies to sort of drive it forward and lock in sort of a deal. It was a Friday night before open home on the Saturday. So I remember we were out at dinner. I think it must have been about 8 p.m. by the time it was sort of locked in. So it was quite late on a Friday night. I think Boyd was with his kid in the pool at the time, but we got the phone call saying, hey, yeah, we've got it. And obviously going to open home on the Saturday, we wanted to beat that. And so we did, and that's how we, landed with this one across that journey.
How'd you feel? That's a big decision to be making on a Friday night. Like, how did it feel going, let's do it?
Yeah, I think life sort of hits you at that point. And you don't realise till afterwards the expenses that come with a house, and you only learn by doing it at the same time. But I think at that point it all come together that we've actually got to take action now. We can't just sit on our button and then hope that it all comes together, because we were in the driver's seat at that point, knowing that, it was all going ahead.
So, you bought the house.
Yeah.
There's a lot's been happened here. Can you describe to me from from those moments where you got the keys to what this is now? This is incredible.
Yeah, we moved in that afternoon when it's like you get your new toy or a new hobby, and it's just, you love it. So you soak it in the first weekend that you're there. From that weekend onwards, and we had probably numerous working bees that came out and helped. Yeah, very, very grateful for the support that we got. I think it's very, very hard to do on your own, and I think that you sometimes got to use the resources around and your networks, which we are very fortunate to be able to utilise. But from day one, I think we were driving forward, and I think probably 3 months down the track, I think we sort of hit a bit of a lull period. It's like, oh, we're going to work on this and things like that. So we sort of sat down, did a bit of project management, and got sort of a week by week spreadsheet of this is what we need to do and this is when we need to get it done by. And yeah, I guess we got there. It's definitely a stressful period. I think looking at 12 weeks to go before we're wanting to sort of rent it out, the amount of trades that we needed to get in, the amount, like just the management of people coming and going, it's ridiculous, especially in this climate of it can take months for trades to come out, from plumbers, electricians. And when you're trying to be savvy at the same time, you're trying to find the best price and the best deal, it sometimes puts you in a bit of a corner on, hey, do we wait a bit longer? Do we roll the dice a little bit? Which we did. We definitely took some risks along the journey with some tradesmen and that because you think, oh, they must be good if they're booked out for the whole year, but that didn't work for the time frames that we had. So we had many sort of downfalls with what we were doing, whether it be punctured tyres, the gutter breaking on us, the fence, broken wrist that needed surgery. I think we all had some body aches and pains throughout the journey, but I think those down points, when you put in what we can reflect on now, it's well worth it. I'm trying to speak on behalf of everyone, but a broken wrist is probably not worth the hassle. But no, it was absolutely worth it from everyone. I think everyone sort of really impressed at sort of what we've been able to achieve in that 6-month period.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, can you tell me more like about here? Because like there's I keep hearing, I haven't seen it yet, like all the like green waste and stuff like that. Like
yeah, so I think I might be wrong, but we had sort of well and truly above 30 tonne of green waste. Probably not something we had factored in. Had some poor bloke on Airtasker come help us out with a few bags, and he'd spent all day and we felt miserable, but we realised well beyond that we needed more than a person with a ute and a trailer to get rid of rubbish. We ended up using a truck and its dog twice, I think, on top of the waste that was removed by the poor Airtasker and our subtle attempts of getting rid of rubbish. But yeah, it's definitely a roadblock that we faced, but we did want to have that vision as well, that potentially going forward with a granny flat at the back, we wanted to just get rid of everything. And knowing that the roots and everything it was an absolute jungle here, so they'd caused a lot of havoc with the pipes and everything. So we just wanted to do the job right once and sort of forget it at that point. And now it's a beautiful backyard for a family, a couple of pets, and yeah, hopefully some cherishable memories can be made for families here. And we had that vision from the get-go that we've got a school down the road. How can we tailor this property to suit a young family? And that's sort of the vision that we had.
So we got this, you've bought the property, you've renovated it up. Tell me, so like now we've got the property, what was the experience like from like having it to now getting it ready to rent out?
Yeah, so everything sort of came to the last minute. We've, like I said, we probably, our last 6 to 12 weeks were week by week writing down things that we had to get done each week, and that we wouldn't be going home till then. Like Sunday nights for us, we'd probably be driving back, just getting ready for the week at sort of 6, 7 o'clock at night, because we're still working our butts off at that point. You're always going to have some areas of imperfections, which is frustrating. You come into a property thinking, I want to make everything perfect. It is not the case, especially for an older house. There's always going to be areas that are never going to be perfect, as much as it frustrates you. But I think, yeah, just a general clean, obviously moving everything out in the time frames, and then getting it all ready we got, obviously, because we renovated it, we got some new photos taken.
So like how did you found a property manager? What was that experience like?
Yeah, again, it's like any real estate agent, it's like any buyer's agent. You need to weigh them all up. We probably contacted about 5 who all came up. We all got their story, what they could rent it for, potential clientele. Like it's just putting it all together. The real estate agent who sold this property to us was a real straight shooter. We absolutely loved him, and credit to him, he sort of passed on to this 2 young brothers that have been running their show. And whilst the rental return is not always something you go off, because it can also be a red flag and people overselling what they can achieve, but they were very proactive, very young, very innovative. And so we sort of avoided the big ones and even the niche ones that sort of were trying to sort of sell their points. And so we went with them sort of $100 higher than what sort of the rental return others were looking at. And from first open home, it was, snapped up just like that. We had a lot of interest based on potentially the photographs, what we'd achieved. And within that, tenants move in within a week of that open home. So
do you remember what like you're expecting to get on capital growth and rent and like what you ended up getting?
Yeah, we haven't got a sort of a proper valuation yet, sort of well above that 700K now. So considering we purchased for 600, it's across 6 months you can't even earn a salary like that, which is incredible considering we've been able to work full time and sort of generate that equity. We know it hasn't come easy, but at the same time it's putting factors in that what we've done to the property, but also sort of based on the numbers that Boyd and Luke provided us, knowing that this was a growth area and overall the market has sort of performed quite well. That's sort of, how we got there. And it's an incredible growth period over sort of 6 months. And to get the yield from a rental perspective as well is sort of exceptional and sort of exceeding what we had first anticipated. I think I spoke to a mortgage broker a couple of weeks ago saying, I think we just anticipate sort of 575 for our weekly rent, and to be able to get $650 now is $75 extra that we weren't expecting. Overall that we've put the hard yards in. It's nice to be sort of rewarded to some degree.
What Logan and Jess shared with us is incredibly valuable because while we often hear about properties with great returns, we usually only hear half the story. The vision, the planning, and the actions you take with that property can dramatically shape your results. It's not just about what you buy, it's about what you do with it. Logan and Jess didn't just sit back and wait for the property to generate returns. They rolled up their sleeves, made tough decisions, and executed their vision to unlock its true potential. As they have shown us, real returns come from everything you do with a property. That first step was just the beginning. Now Logan and Jess are only days away from renting out their property, and the transformation is inspiring. It's also amazing to see the confidence that's been gained as an investor since we first met them just 8 months ago.
Final thing I want to learn about is like how you're different. So I want like thinking back to like, when you like even like the 16-year-old version of yourself and then the version of yourself that, we're ready to take the step. And you now, how do you feel different? Is like, how are you approaching the second property? Because I hear you're looking at
the strategy hasn't changed from the start. We sort of, 16-year-old me was very different. I didn't really know what to get or anything like that. You hear a lot of rubbish about what goes on with people buying many, many properties, but they're probably terrible assets to purchase. And it can always look good on the limelight. You can talk the talk, but when you walk the walk is a very different story. So I think just the maturity and sort of the right assets to purchase, the guidance that we've had through multiple different stakeholders, whether it be Luke and Boyd, whether it be financial advice, having our mortgage brokers in our corner, everything along the journey to sort of facilitate that helps with our informed decisions going forward. And I think we've achieved the strategy that we had planned. Whilst it's only 6 months, it's sort of coming back to that, hey, we can't make a strategy on a 6-month direction. It needs to be on sort of a long-term direction, more than even 18 months. There's got to be 5, 10, 20 years down the track of what we want to achieve. So to be in this position now, though, and that we've sort of built that equity in the 6-month period, we don't have to go now, but I think we're a bit hungry to utilise it, obviously sensibly and in the right trajectory. But I think it's rewarding in knowing that we're on that track and that we're able to execute those goals and achievements.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes that makes a lot of sense. Like, the plan hasn't changed. You're still doing the same things. That's kind of nice, right? When the plan doesn't change, we're not doing double stepping on things. And emotionally and like how you feel, because this emotion's such a big thing you've got to control. Yeah. Like now you're getting into the second one. How do you feel differently? Are we looking at the second property soon, or are we waiting a bit of time period?
Probably very soon. Yeah. Okay. We'll at least get our options. There's no harm in doing that. So whether obviously going for the mortgage broker, getting valuation done here, knowing borrowing capacity, having a chat to Luke and Boyd, it's sort of knowing that we can go now, but it's optional whether we do go now. And sort of in the market we're in, it's sort of, if you can do it, well then go do it. It's sort of, I think that's when people don't achieve their goals and aspirations, is when they sit down and think too long, because the market keeps moving, it keeps changing. And I think if we're going to achieve our goals, you've got to take action, and that's why we do it.
What I want to leave you with is the importance of balancing planning and action, just as Logan and Jess did. Jumping in too quickly can expose you to unnecessary risks, but spending too much time planning could mean the market moves ahead, leaving you behind. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to getting started in property investing, but by staying focused and taking calculated steps, you can navigate it with confidence and clarity. Until next time, happy property navigating.